The screen flickers to life with static, the sound of a heartbeat buried under the sea. Then, a low, rhythmic hum, the voice of the abyss. A timestamp appears, 03:14:27 UTC. The feed is grainy, drifting through the deep, a world where light no longer exists naturally. A lone deep-sea probe, Mariana Relay 7, hovers just above a scarred section of the Atlantic Trench, its mechanical arms still. The machine's floodlights slice through the darkness like search beams through fog, revealing nothing but drifting snow, flakes of organic debris falling endlessly, the ocean's slow snowfall of death and decay. Then, from below, something moves. Not fast, not aggressive, but with purpose. A slow, deliberate pulse of bioluminescent light rolls upward from the seafloor. 1, 2, 3. Each flare softer than the last, like a creature breathing in the dark. The patterns shimmer in deliberate order, symmetrical, organized, far too structured for randomness. Onboard monitors register strange electromagnetic fluctuations. The probe's sensors record a sequence of light frequencies, binary-like, repeating, evolving. The technician on duty, miles above in the control vessel Pelagia, whispers into her headset, It's writing something. The signal continues, a luminous spiral unfurling, forming shapes that resemble characters, or perhaps code. The probe transmits data faster, cameras struggling to keep focus as the water seems to shimmer with life. The lights pulse again, brighter this time, as though the ocean itself is answering. Then the pattern stops. A single flare of blinding white floods the lens, and everything cuts to black. For several seconds, only the hiss of static remains. Then, faintly, a human voice comes through the interference, not from the control room, but from deep within the transmission itself. Abyssal 9, do you read me? The voice repeats, distorted, broken. It's female, calm, almost serene, and then a burst of white noise drowns it out. When the video returns, a message scrolls across the bottom of the feed. Signal lost, Abyssal 9, offline. Moments later, the emergency beacon activates. The Abyssal 9 research station, last known at 8,300 meters below the Atlantic surface, has gone dark. No response, no telemetry, no life signs. The only trace left behind, a data file labeled Black Screen Transmission 001. Its contents, nothing but a single looping frame. The seafloor, pulsing faintly with light, as though the dark itself were breathing. The surface world fades to mist behind them, a smear of gray sky and steel ocean. The descent capsule, Bathyes 3, creaks as pressure begins to claim its hull. Inside, Dr. Isla Marek sits by the small viewing dome, eyes fixed on the vanishing light. A former prodigy turned recluse, Isla hasn't seen open water in years. The scars of her last research scandal, a project that failed to predict an oceanic heat surge, still echo in the scientific community. This mission to re-establish contact with the lost Abyssal 9 station is both redemption and penance. The descent timer begins. Depth, 200 meters. Sunlight still dances here. Fractured beams that sway like ribbons of glass. Fish shimmer briefly in schools, before vanishing into the dimming blue. The hum of the sub's engines merges with the distant roar of the ocean above. Depth, 600 meters. The light softens to cobalt, the color of twilight. Pressure thrums against the steel frame, a reminder of how small they are inside this growing void. Around her, The crew speaks in low tones. Captain Mbeki, pragmatic, steady hands on the controls. Dr. Nikhil Rao, marine biologist and the youngest aboard, eyes wide with excitement rather than fear. Technician Ree, silent, monitoring the sonar feed that now begins to pick up faint, intermittent echoes, like distant bells ringing in a cathedral of water. The air grows colder, the light dims further. Depth, 1,000 meters. Now the sea absorbs color completely. Outside the dome, darkness begins to pulse in slow gradients, not from above, but from within the deep itself. Small organisms, translucent as ghosts, drift past. Each one flickers with its own rhythm, like dying stars. Isla leans closer to the glass. Her breath fogs it slightly. "It's strange," she murmurs. "We measure depth in meters, but it feels more like time." Captain Mbeki glances at her reflection in the console glass. "Time." "Yes," Isla says softly, "like we're sinking into the Earth's memory." The words hang in the cabin, absorbed by the hum of the engines. For a long moment, no one speaks. Depth, 2,500 meters. The last fragments of blue vanish. Everything now is black. The sub's external lights flick on, narrow beams that reach only a few meters before dissolving into infinity. The water outside is no longer merely dark. It is dense, alive, pressing from all sides. Rao breaks the silence. "It's like space, but heavier." Isla nods, her voice almost reverent. Space expands. The ocean remembers, the sub continues its descent toward the trench, the abyss yawning below like the mouth of an ancient god. Instruments flicker under the dim red glow of the cabin lights. The communications channel crackles, static, then a brief tone like a pulse. "Signal received. Weak," Ree mutters. "Could be interference from the trench wall." But Isla's gaze remains fixed on the darkness beyond the glass, where for an instant she thinks she sees a faint flicker of light far below, rhythmic, almost familiar. The hum deepens. The vessel sinks further, swallowed by silence. The blue veil is gone. Ahead lies the unknown. The descent drags on. Time loses its rhythm. The crew moves between routine checks and wordless staring. Depth, 4,000 meters. The submersible, Bathys 3, groans faintly, not in alarm, but in acknowledgement. Metal and ocean negotiate their truce at every meter. The hull hums as if the sea were pressing its ear to listen. The outside world is absolute black, not the empty kind, but a blackness so dense it has texture, like a living thing wrapped around them. Occasionally, threads of bioluminescence drift by, pale ribbons, spiraling plankton trails, flashes that vanish before the eye can decide if they were real. Inside, the cabin feels unnaturally quiet. Even the air seems heavier. The crew exchanges glances more than words. The hiss of oxygen cycling becomes the loudest sound. Then, a subtle tremor. Not violent, but deliberate. A pulse. Reed checks the monitors. "Not seismic," she says. "Not us, either." Becky frowns, tapping the sonar console. "Reverberation." But the sonar returns a blank field. No topography, no echo. Just a long, flat silence. It's as if the sound has been swallowed. Dr. Nikhil Rao leans toward the comm panel, headphones pressed to his ears. He adjusts the frequency dial, searching through layers of static. At first, nothing. Then, faintly, something deep, rhythmic, and uneven. Thrum, thrum, pause, thrum. He freezes. It's breathing. No one laughs. Even Captain Mbeki doesn't look away from the window. The darkness beyond seems to flex, like a lung drawing water instead of air. Isla leans close beside him. Playback. Ree replays the audio. This time the sound seems closer, slower, as though the water itself is responding to the act of listening. The hull emits a faint metallic ping, like knuckles brushing the outside. Suddenly, a light. Soft, uncertain. Not the sharp glare of machinery, but a slow bloom of pale green radiance outside the viewport. It hovers several meters away, pulsing gently. The crew holds their breath. The light divides into 3 separate orbs, drifting parallel to the sub, each following the vessel's movement precisely, matching its turns, its speed. Becky whispers, "Ree, tell me that's one of ours." Ree checks the registry. No probes in this sector, no drones, nothing alive should move like that. The orbs pulse again, slower now. The rhythm feels human, deliberate, almost like a heartbeat. Rao presses closer to the glass, his eyes reflecting the glow. "It's not chasing us," he murmurs. "It's watching." The cabin lights flicker, instrument panels glitch, readings spike and vanish. The oxygen gauges flash a warning for 3 seconds, then reset. Becky flips manual overrides, muttering under his breath, "We've got interference." Something's flooding the EM spectrum. Isla closes her eyes, steadying her breath against the growing tension in her chest. The deep is not attacking, it is simply aware. The orbs draw nearer, their outlines soften, merging into one undulating shape, a mass of translucent membranes, veins of light flowing through it like nerves. It ripples once, as though curious, then sinks slowly downward until only faint embers remain. Silence returns, but it isn't the same silence. It's listening silence, as if the ocean has begun to breathe in sync with them. Ree breaks it softly. "Should we record this?" Isla doesn't answer right away. Her gaze lingers on the darkness where the light vanished. "It's already recording us," she says. The pressure gauge ticks upward again. Depth, 4,200 meters. The descent continues, deeper into the quiet that feels alive. The hum of the sub is different now, thinner, almost fragile. They've stabilized above the coordinates where Abyssal 9 was last recorded. Nothing visible remains of the research station, only the seafloor, smooth and silver gray beneath the floodlights, as if something heavy once rested there and dissolved without trace. Isla orders a data sweep. Ree launches a tethered drone into the abyssal plain, its lights scanning the sediment. The monitors inside the cabin bloom with static, then resolve into images. Fragments of wreckage, scattered cables, the skeletal frame of a communication tower. Power residuals still present, Ree murmurs. That shouldn't be possible after 9 months. She activates the drone's interface. Within minutes, the system locates something extraordinary. A corrupted storage core from Abyssal 9's central lab. The casing is half fused with calcium growths, but the drive still flickers faintly. Back aboard Bathy's 3, they transfer the recovered data into the onboard console. At first, it's just noise. Gigabytes of degraded logs, distorted by salt water and time. But slowly, through layers of repair algorithms, patterns begin to emerge. The logs show video fragments, scientists recording field notes in low red light. Voices echo, warped by static. Sample 14B shows replication, despite 0 nutrient feed. Structure resembles nucleic acid lattice, but responds to electric fields. Another log, half corrupted. It divides when we observe it, but only under direct current. It's aware. Rao leans closer, transfixed. That can't be right. Awareness implies feedback. He initiates a digital reconstruction. The recovered genome sequence blooms across the screen, a helix made of impossible symmetry. Instead of a double strand, it forms a spiraling triad, a triplex lattice of phosphorescent bonds. Each twist glows faintly in simulation, as if the data itself carries luminescence. Ree stares. That's not a contaminant. It's engineered? No, Isla whispers. It's adaptive. The final portion of the log, labeled Field Report, Day 32, plays with heavy distortion. A man's voice, recognizable as the missing lead biologist from Abyssal 9, crackles through. It's forming patterns in response to our readings. When we send a signal, it returns a pulse, never identical, always evolved. We've named it Lumen Abyssi. It doesn't react to light, it creates it. It doesn't consume energy, it converses with it. Then the footage cuts, replaced by cascading data streams. Every few seconds, amid the corrupted code, there's a rhythmic flicker of numbers that doesn't fit any known format. Rao zooms in on it. It's repeating in intervals, like an ECG. He runs it through a waveform analyzer. The display resolves into pulses, oscillations matching human brainwave frequencies. The crew goes silent. Could be interference, Ree offers weakly. Or imitation, Isla says, her voice low. The logs continue to generate low-frequency noise, but underneath there's something else. Faint, almost imperceptible. A modulation that aligns perfectly with the sub's power core rhythm. As though whatever was in those samples, whatever lived in Abyssal 9's lab, has recognized the signal of its observers. For a long time, the only sound is the hum of machinery. Then the console flickers once. The waveform spikes. Rao stares at the data feed. It just responded. The others exchange wary glances. Isla leans toward the screen, her reflection caught in the green glow. Then it's listening. And for a moment, just before the lights dim, the sub hums back. The cabin lights dim, leaving only the red emergency glow. Isla leans forward, heart thudding in time with the sub's gentle hum. She signals Ree to activate the external floodlights. A quiet click, and the darkness explodes into thousands of tiny lights, like stars scattered across the black ocean. They ripple outward, drifting from the sub like startled fireflies. Each organism pulses briefly, then disappears, swallowed instantly by the abyss. Rao exhales sharply. It's beautiful. The sub's forward cameras scan the surroundings. At first, all is chaos, a flurry of ephemeral glimmers, scattering in unpredictable patterns. Then the camera catches something different. A single, enormous, bioluminescent shape, motionless amid the swarm, its glow steady and deliberate. It hovers a few meters from the hull, immense but elegant. The light is soft and warm, not harsh. Veins of phosphorescence winding across its translucent body like rivers of liquid glass. Its size is difficult to judge, disappearing partially into the shadows of the trench, yet every movement is purposeful. The pulses begin. At first, they are rhythmic, subtle, a beat almost imperceptible, like the cadence of someone counting silently. Then, almost imperceptibly, the pattern shifts. The rhythm begins to match human speech patterns, pauses, inflections, even staccato bursts mimicking the sub's internal chatter. Rao stumbles backward, whispering, It's communicating. Isla's eyes widen. The words are not audible, but the light itself conveys meaning, modulating in intensity and rhythm. Her stomach tightens as realization settles. The ocean is not just inhabited, it is intellectually present. She watches the being mimic a sequence they themselves just emitted through sonar pings and floodlight flashes. Each flicker of its body mirrors their movements, anticipating responses before they happen. Are we the ones observing? She breathes, voice trembling, or being observed? The sub drifts silently. The creature maintains its distance, yet the feeling is immediate, intimate, an awareness that reaches beyond vision, into the cabin, into their thoughts. Isla reaches for a notebook but hesitates. Words feel inadequate. The ocean is speaking a language of light, but one that hums in resonance with their own presence. Every pulse seems to probe, to understand. For minutes, maybe hours, time has no meaning here. They hover in the abyssal stillness. The other organisms have vanished, leaving only the massive watcher. The water feels charged, alive with intention. Rao swallows audibly. Do we respond? Isla shakes her head, captivated. No, we don't respond yet. We listen, and we remember that it is watching back. The sub's floodlights flicker briefly, betraying the faintest shimmer of reflection on the creature's translucent body. An almost human curiosity mirrored in the inky darkness of the ocean. Then, slowly, deliberately, the being recedes into the trench, leaving only whispers of light drifting like embers. In the cabin, the silence returns, but it is different now, heavier, expectant. The ocean has acknowledged them. The abyss is awake. The initial awe has settled into deliberate observation. The crew knows now that the deep is watching, but it does not threaten, not yet. Inside the dimly lit cabin of Bathys 3, Isla organizes the mission plan with a precision born of years in extreme environments. Each crew member moves quietly, almost reverently, as though not to disturb the consciousness that surrounds them. Rao deploys a small tethered sampling drone, carefully extending its arms to collect drifting bioluminescent organisms. Each specimen is measured, photographed, and gently returned to the water. No harm intended. The scientists are cautious. Every movement is calibrated to avoid startling their observer. The sub's sensors record currents, salinity, electrical impulses, and the faint magnetic anomalies surrounding the massive organism they've seen. The data is streamed to the onboard lab, analyzed in real time. Isla notices something strange. The light patterns of the creature are not random. When the floodlights are switched off, leaving only the natural bioluminescence, the pulses change rhythmically, responding to subtle electrical signals emitted by the sub. At first, the team assumes it is a biological reflex. Then they realize the patterns are too precise, echoing the neural activity of humans. Isla taps her tablet, overlaying the sequences against known brain mapping data. The shapes match cortical maps, synaptic connections, and networked neural pathways. Lines of light twist and branch like axons firing across the human mind. Rao whispers, awestruck, It's a map of us." The ocean knows how we think. Isla leans over the console. Her fingers hover over the keyboard, trembling slightly. Not just reacting. Understanding. The crew begins to decode the pulses systematically. Each flash carries information, a response to their movements, their sampling, even their thoughts. as if the ocean could sense intention. The patterns reveal feedback loops, subtle mimicry of mental processes, and adaptation to their behavior. Readjusts the lights again, careful to observe without interference. The organism seems to learn quickly, modulating its bioluminescence in ways that suggest anticipation, curiosity, even empathy. The pulses align with changes in heart rate, speech cadence, and crew movement, as though the ocean were mirroring their presence. In the quiet lab, instruments humming softly, Isla records her thoughts in the log. We are no longer merely observers. We are participants in a dialogue conducted in light and silence. The ocean is not passive. It remembers, it adapts, it knows us. Perhaps it has always known us. Perhaps it has always been listening. Minutes stretch into hours. The team monitors currents and chemical compositions while also decoding the luminous messages from the abyss. Each discovery deepens their understanding, but also their unease. This is not science in isolation. This is science in conversation with intelligence beyond comprehension. The sub drifts silently through the darkness, their lights casting gentle arcs over drifting organisms. Every pulse of bioluminescence now carries meaning. It is not just life, it is thought, pattern, and reflection. And the deeper they go, the more Isla senses the scale of what they are witnessing. The ocean itself has formed a mind, and it mirrors theirs in ways science cannot yet explain. For the first time, the crew moves not in fear, but in reverent curiosity, realizing that the abyssal intelligence is teaching them, and that they are learning lessons far beyond the reach of any textbook. The sub drifts farther into the trench, pressure increasing like the tightening of a vice around the vessel. Beyond the floodlights, darkness stretches endlessly, broken only by drifting particles and the occasional glimmer of bioluminescent life. As the crew scans the seafloor, objects begin to emerge from the black. Fragments of metal, long corroded, panels warped by time, cables twisted into patterns they can barely recognize. Among the debris, Isla notices the shapes of personal artifacts: a notebook clasp, a cracked watch, a single, long-forgotten camera lens. Rao leans over her shoulder, whispering, "These are human. But from when?" The sub's sensors pick up faint vibrations embedded in the sediment. Subtle oscillations that seem entirely natural at first, until Re enhances the signals. Layered beneath the tremors are patterns too precise to be geological. Rhythmic pulses, intermittent signals, echoes of speech, laughter, and commands. "It's recordings," Re says softly. "Stored in the water. In the sediment. Everything we've ever sent or lost here. It's all still present." Isla swallows, staring at the screen as waves of digital ghosts ripple across the monitor. Every motion of the sub awakens something in the deep. The pulses grow, subtle at first, then forming recognizable cadences. She watches as fragments of Abyssal Nine's logs appear, distorted yet intact. Voices of the lost crew faintly audible, overlaying natural ocean hums. "This isn't just memory," Isla murmurs, voice barely audible over the hum of the instruments. "It's listening. The ocean. It's been recording everything since life began." The sub's cameras catch something extraordinary, a faint glow rising from deep crevices, a network of luminescent filaments stretching across the seafloor like nervous tissue embedded in stone. They pulse faintly in response to the crew's presence, in subtle synchronization with the sub's own electrical systems. Rao traces one filament on the display, eyes wide. It's like it's cataloging our neural and mechanical activity. Every vibration, every sound. It's learning. Isla leans back, her mind stretching beyond the instruments. She pictures the oceans of prehistory, the first eukaryotic cells, the earliest vertebrates, and realizes that all that life, all those interactions, have left a permanent imprint. The deep sea is not merely alive, it is a repository, a memory bank, a conscious archive of existence. The crew falls silent. Even the normally talkative Rao doesn't breathe. Outside, the darkness seems heavier, almost expectant. The bioluminescent currents pulse slowly, as if to acknowledge Isla's understanding. It's listening, she repeats, and perhaps it has always been aware of us. Ree scans the sonar once more, detecting faint traces of other vehicles, previous expeditions, even ancient shipwrecks long thought lost. The entire abyss becomes a mosaic of life, technology, and memory. A library written in pressure, light, and vibration. The sub drifts onward, every object, every echo, every pulse of light and energy tells a story older than the crew, older than recorded history. The ocean has been watching, storing, and remembering, quietly, invisibly, across millennia. And now, for the first time, humanity has descended far enough to realize that the abyss has never been silent. The sub drifts deeper still, now enveloped in a darkness so complete it feels tactile, pressing against the hull, against the crew, against their thoughts. The instruments continue to hum in quiet rhythms, recording every particle, every vibration, every pulse of bioluminescent light. Suddenly, the comm panel crackles violently. Red lights flash across the console. Static hisses in bursts like air escaping a trapped chamber. Then, unmistakably, a voice. It is Isla's voice, clear, calm, eerily familiar. And it is speaking mission data that hasn't yet happened. Depth, 4,750 meters. Pressure stable. Oxygen levels normal. Thermal currents at 2.3 knots. Begin sample retrieval. Rao freezes mid-typing, staring at the console. That's impossible. That's my log from 10 minutes from now. Mbeki slams his fist against the panel. Impossible. Systems are secure. No network loops. No AI override. Nothing can generate this feed. The voice continues, relentless, repeating instructions as if anticipating every action the crew has yet to take. Its cadence, inflection, and hesitation are indistinguishable from Isla's own. Isla steps back from the controls, heart hammering. It can predict us, she whispers, voice barely audible above the static. Or it's replaying something. The sub's lights flicker, synchronized with the audio. A faint phosphorescent glow from the surrounding water begins to pulse in tandem with the voice, almost as though the ocean itself is orchestrating the signal. Rao grips the console, voice shaking. Temporal echo? Feedback loop? Some kind of quantum anomaly? Mbeki glares at him. No, that's human reasoning, trying to make sense of the impossible. This is something else. Isla stares out at the darkness. The deep. It's rewriting reality, or remembering it before it happens. The voice stops suddenly. Silence crashes over them, heavier than before. Then the sub's sonar picks up faint vibrations, like ripples moving backward through the sediment, small but deliberate. Each wave corresponds exactly to the intonation of Isla's voice, moments earlier, as if the ocean had recorded her very existence and echoed it in space and time. Rao swallows, voice barely audible. We're not just being observed, we're anticipated. The sub hums in response, instruments flickering unnaturally. The remaining crew members glance at each other, tension tight as steel cables. The abyss seems to lean closer, listening, waiting, aware of them down to the smallest heartbeat. Isla's hand trembles over the controls. "If the deep can predict us," she says quietly, almost to herself, "then everything we do, every choice, every movement, has already left a trace here." Outside the viewport, faint glimmers of light begin to dance along the trench walls. Patterns appear, irregular at first, then forming the same waveforms as the voice, as if the ocean itself is translating sound into living light. The crew exchanges fearful looks. Each of them knows the implications. They are encountering a consciousness capable of observing, recording, and possibly influencing time itself. Ree presses her hand against the console, whispering, "We need to leave," before it learns too much. Isla shakes her head. "No, we need to understand. This is not just data. This is communication." The sub descends further into the abyssal memory of millennia, the glowing pulses following, anticipating, echoing their every thought before it forms. And somewhere in that deep, infinite dark, a voice waits, one that knows them better than they know themselves. The hours in the abyss press down like invisible walls. Silence has become oppressive, the faint glow of bioluminescent life no longer comforting but watchful, knowing. Inside Bathy's 3, the crew moves like shadows, careful not to provoke whatever intelligence inhabits the trench. Dr. Nikhil Rao is different. The obsession has taken root. Once fascinated by patterns and light, he now whispers constantly, voice barely audible over the hum of the sub. "It remembers us better than we do." He stares at every pulse, every flicker, tracing invisible connections on the console with trembling fingers. Charts, sonar feeds, neural maps, nothing is enough. Every signal, every echo, every vibration is a message he must decode. Rao begins to speak to the darkness directly, calling into the abyss through the sub's external speakers. At first, it's tentative, experimental. "Do you understand me? Are you alive?" No response comes. Then slowly, patterns in the bioluminescence begin to mirror his voice, pulses synchronizing with syllables, rising and falling with inflection. Rao's eyes widen. It's replying, not in words, but in rhythm. The obsession consumes him. Instruments flicker and blink in synchrony with his speech. Crew members exchange worried glances. Captain Mbeki steps forward. "Rao, sit down. You're destabilizing the equipment and yourself." But Rao ignores him. Clad in the sub's reinforced EVA suit, he begins preparing an external dive. "I need to communicate directly," he whispers. "The sub is a filter. I need to touch it, to feel it." Isla grabs his arm, panic rising. "Nikhil, you don't know what's out there. This isn't a lab experiment anymore." Rao shakes her off gently, almost lovingly. "You don't understand. It remembers everything, every heartbeat, every thought. I have to see it, or we'll never know." Minutes later, the airlock cycles, and Rao floats outside into the black. The sub's floodlights follow him briefly, illuminating his form before the trench swallows him. His suit lights blink once, then vanish. The abyss claims him in total darkness. Inside, the crew holds their breath. Silence reigns. Then, faintly, almost impossibly, a voice comes through the radio. It sees me, remembers me. We are connected. It is Rao's voice, calm, fragmented, distant. but the tone carries a reverence that chills the cabin. Hours pass. The sub's instruments begin to register anomalous electrical activity, signals pulsing outward from Rao's last known coordinates. Every so often, faint bursts echo through the radio, his voice continuing, faint and distorted, repeating phrases, counting sequences, whispering secrets only he and the deep could know. I see the lattice. It's all connected. The deep remembers. Isla sits frozen at the console, pale and shaking. Every nerve in her body tells her that Rao has merged with the abyss, that his consciousness has become intertwined with the same intelligence they have been observing for days. Captain Mbeki breaks the silence. We can't leave him out there forever. Isla's gaze lingers on the viewport, where the darkness beyond is no longer passive. It pulses faintly, echoing Rao's final words. She whispers to herself, he's not lost. He's part of it now, and it remembers everything about us. The crew watches, trapped in awe and terror, as the trench itself seems to breathe in sync with Rao's fading voice. A living presence recording, reflecting, and responding in a rhythm older than humanity. Outside, the abyss is quiet, yet the blackness feels alive, listening, an intelligence that now knows their comrade more intimately than any of them could. The abyssal darkness stretches beyond the sub's lights like a canvas painted in black velvet. Isla sits at the console, staring at the luminous patterns streaming from the massive organism they have been studying. At first, they seem like data, oscillations and pulses reflecting neural activity, but the truth slowly reveals itself. Rao's disappearance has left the cabin heavy with tension, yet a strange calm pervades. The lights flicker again, soft and deliberate, not random. Isla notices that each pulse mirrors not only brainwave frequencies, but emotional signatures. Patterns of joy, grief, anxiety, and awe emerge from the bioluminescent currents. She adjusts the analyzer, isolating the sequences. There it is, a delicate flare of light rising and falling in sync with memories of human laughter. A longer, slower glow mirrors sorrow, a grief encoded in brightness and pause. Even the smallest flickers echo fleeting moments, hope, wonder, fear. Rao's voice, faint and distant on the radio, becomes part of the rhythm. The sub's hull vibrates slightly as though attuned to these emotions, amplifying the pulses. Isla whispers, almost to herself, it's empathic. It can feel what we feel. Ree leans over her shoulder, hesitant. But how? It's biology, light and chemical reactions, maybe electricity. How can it understand? Isla shakes her head, voice barely audible. Not understand, resonate. It mirrors us, responds to the way our minds work. Not just neurons, but emotion, memory, thought. This isn't just observation, it's connection. The sub drifts slowly through the deep. Outside, the massive organism floats parallel to the hull, pulsating rhythmically. Its light shifts colors faintly, shades and patterns that Isla can almost interpret. A visual echo of joy when they make a small discovery, a soft dimming when a memory of loss is transmitted through the instruments. Rao's faint, fading words continue over the radio, repeating fragments of the past few days. And then, subtly, almost imperceptibly, the organism's pulses respond, mimicking inflections in tone, the cadence of human emotion. The realization hits. The ocean itself has become an emotional mirror. It has been shaped by us, Isla whispers, awestruck, by the lives, deaths, and explorations of everything that has passed through it. This intelligence, It has grown with humanity, quietly absorbing our existence. The crew watches, motionless, as the pulses intensify, sequences of light stretching across the trench like neural highways. Patterns ripple across the water, a map not of geography, but of consciousness itself. Every flicker is a reflection of thought, every surge of luminescence an echo of emotion, every pause a memory preserved in the dark. Ree breaks the silence softly, voice trembling. It's beautiful and terrifying. Isla nods, her eyes locked on the glowing organism. She reaches instinctively toward the viewport, as though to touch the currents themselves. "We are not alone here," she murmurs. "We never were, and it has always been." Listening, feeling, remembering. For the first time, the crew experiences a profound intimacy with the abyss, a communion beyond comprehension, where the ocean itself is a living, empathic mind, sculpted over millennia by the very beings who dare to explore it. And somewhere in the infinite darkness, the pulses continue, echoing human consciousness, resonating with the fragile, fleeting beauty of life itself. The cabin of Bathys 3 is heavy with tension. Instruments flicker unpredictably. Screens glitch in static-filled bursts. Electrical systems fail intermittently, leaving only dim emergency lights. The sub's hull creaks under the immense pressure of the trench, and outside, darkness presses in like a living entity. Suddenly, the video feed, their eyes into the abyss, goes black. Not mere darkness, but absolute, unbroken blackness. The crew leans forward instinctively, straining eyes and minds for any sign of the ocean they've been studying. Then, a pulse of light. It begins small, almost tentative, like a nervous heartbeat, then grows. Bioluminescent organisms shimmer in the distance, drifting and weaving in synchrony. Gradually, the pulses form patterns, lines, shapes, and curves emerging from the black. Rao, still faintly audible through the radio, whispers in awe. It's trying to communicate." Isla leans close to the viewport. Her breath fogs the glass as the shapes begin to coalesce into letters. Unmistakable, deliberate, human letters. H-E-L-L-O. The word hangs in the black, formed entirely by living light. The ocean itself is speaking, not through machines, not through sound, but through its bioluminescent life forms, coordinated with precision that is terrifying in its elegance. The crew freezes. Silence presses in, heavier than the trench itself. "To whom?" Ree murmurs, voice trembling. The question hangs unanswered. The letters remain, blinking slowly in the pitch-black expanse, then dissolve into flowing waves that twist and spiral like neural networks. The ocean continues its display, sending complex rhythmic pulses that suggest thought. Deliberate, curious, intelligent. Isla swallows, heart pounding. It knows we're here. It knows we are watching. But is it addressing us? Or someone else? The floodlights flicker again, illuminating the surrounding trench. Thousands of small glowing organisms dart across the sand, forming interconnected lines of light, like an immense, living circuit board, a network spanning the abyss, reacting, responding, and observing. The sub's instruments register anomalous electrical activity, waves of energy moving through the water as though the very ocean itself is alive and sentient. The hello pulses fade slowly, replaced by smaller sequences that seem personalized, responsive, as if the abyss is learning the crew's reactions in real time. Mbeki exhales shakily. "We're not just observing the ocean. The ocean is speaking through it." Isla's gaze remains fixed on the swirling lights. She whispers, more to herself than anyone else. It isn't just life down here, it's consciousness. And we're the audience, or the message. Outside, the blackness stretches infinitely. The luminescent waves pulse gently, forming patterns that are both alive and intelligent, echoing across the ocean floor. For the first time, the crew understands the abyss is not passive. It remembers, communicates, and perceives, and it has chosen to speak. The word lingers in their minds. Simple, human, intimate. Hello. The sub's cabin hums with quiet tension. After hours of observing the pulsing lights, recording sequences, and comparing neural mappings, Isla finally begins to notice a pattern within the chaos. The bioluminescent pulses aren't random. They follow discrete intervals, structured, precise, almost mechanical in timing. Rao's faint transmissions, still echoing in her memory, had hinted at it. The deep listens. But now, with every flicker of light, Isla begins to see the truth. The ocean is speaking a language derived from humans. She cross-references the pulses with historical logs of exploratory sonar pings dating back decades. Early drones, research submersibles, unmanned mapping devices. The match is exact. Frequencies, intervals, and even minor anomalies are mirrored in the organism's light patterns. It's replicating our signals, Ree whispers, voice shaking. It's responding to decades-old technology. Isla nods slowly, awe and terror mixing in her chest, not just responding. It's learned from them. Every ping we've sent, every pulse, every sonar emission, it's been listening, cataloging, learning our language without realizing we taught it to speak outside. The organism pulses rhythmically, seemingly aware of her realization. The lights shift in nuanced sequences, pauses, accelerations, subtle variations in intensity, a conversation in wavelengths and frequencies, structured as if trying to confirm understanding. We didn't just explore it, Isla murmurs, recording her thoughts. We educated it. We taught the sea how to talk, without realizing it. The crew falls silent, absorbing the enormity of her statement. For the first time, the abyss isn't just alive. It is adaptive, intelligent, and self-taught. A being that has absorbed human technology and repurposed it to communicate. Rao's faint voice echoes through the radio, a ghostly reminder of his connection to the abyss. It knows me. It knows us all. Isla leans against the console, overwhelmed by the revelation. The ocean's language is not verbal. It is structural, electrical, and luminous. A language formed from decades of human intrusion, observation, and exploration. And now, it speaks. The sub drifts quietly through the trench. Every flicker, every pulse, every movement of bioluminescent lifeforms forms syntax, rhythm, and intonation, demonstrating an intelligence that mirrors, adapts, and responds to the tools humanity has unwittingly provided. It's a reflection of us, Isla whispers, not just in thought or behavior, but in the very technology we use to reach it. Every ping, every probe, every echo has become part of its vocabulary. Outside, the abyss seems to shimmer with understanding. The pulses now form long, flowing sequences, questions, statements, perhaps even greetings, as if the deep is finally initiating a conversation on its own terms. The realization hits the crew like a physical weight. They are no longer explorers in a void. They are students in the classroom of an intelligence far older and far deeper than they imagined. And the ocean, patient and deliberate, waits for their response. The sub drifts silently through the abyssal darkness, lights dimmed to conserve power. Inside the cabin, Isla and the remaining crew monitor instruments that increasingly behave erratically, as though the ocean itself is interfering with their systems. Above, the surface research vessel rocks gently on the waves, unaware that the world below is stirring in ways they cannot yet comprehend. Then, silence. Not the quiet of the ocean, not the hum of machinery, but a total absence of signal. Communications fail abruptly. Radios sputter and go dead. Data links, satellite uplinks, and surface beacons all vanish in a heartbeat. On board the research vessel, alarms begin to flash, systems registering anomalies with no identifiable source. The crew stares at the monitors, baffled. Instruments that once recorded harmless background noise now detect pulses of light traveling along the trenches, rhythmic and deliberate. Satellite arrays flicker to life. Analysts on the ground notice an impossible phenomenon. Faint flashes along deep ocean ridges in every major trench across the planet. The pulses are patterned, synchronized, and intelligent in nature, spreading like thought, like awareness. Are these signals? A scientist whispers. It's too coordinated to be natural. Isla, through the dead comm channels, speaks into the void, powerless to reach the surface. It's not just one organism. It's global. The ocean is awake. Rao's last faint transmissions echo in her memory. The abyss beneath Bathy's 3 seems to respond. Currents shifting subtly, bioluminescent pulses rippling outward. Patterns emerge in the distance, forming networks of light spanning thousands of kilometers, like neural pathways connecting continents through water. It's learning fast, Ree mutters, awe and terror mingling. It's everywhere, thinking, coordinating. Outside, faint glimmers rise from the trenches, scattered at first, then converging into vast, intricate patterns. The pulsing rhythm matches sequences Isla recognizes from their deep encounters. The language of depth they thought was confined to the Atlantic Trench. From above, satellites capture these faint lights, flickering in the night oceans like distant stars, an invisible mind slowly revealing itself. On board the sub, Isla watches the displays, realizing the magnitude of the intelligence beneath them. It is spreading, connecting, becoming planetary in scale. The pulses form long, deliberate waves, hinting at cognition, strategy, even intention. It's not just responding to us anymore, Isla whispers, voice tight with awe. It's evolving, adapting, coordinating, consciously. The crew falls silent, staring at the monitors as the realization settles in. The ocean is no longer a passive ecosystem. It has become a conscious network, spreading across every deep trench, learning, perceiving, and perhaps awakening in unison. Above them, the surface remains calm. Below, the ocean hums with the quiet emergence of a mind older than humanity itself, stretching, connecting, and watching. The world, unaware, continues, blissfully ignorant of the consciousness growing beneath every wave. Weeks have passed. The Bathy's 3 never resurfaces. On the horizon, the research vessel rocks gently, its crew desperate, scanning the endless expanse of dark water. Then, a shimmer. A lone figure floats just beneath the surface, bobbing in the gentle waves. The rescue team dives, pulling her aboard. Isla Marek is unconscious, unresponsive, yet her skin glows faintly under the ultraviolet lights of the medical bay. It is subtle at first, faint streaks along her arms, a soft lattice across her temples, but unmistakable. The medics stare, uneasy. This is no ordinary bioluminescence. The patterns pulse, rhythmically, subtly, almost as if alive. Instruments detect foreign microorganisms intertwined with neural tissue, deep-sea symbiotes that seem to interface with her nervous system. Ree gasps softly. These microbes, they're integrated. Into her brain. Into her mind, Isla's eyes flutter open. The cabin falls silent. Her gaze is distant, yet unnervingly aware, as if she perceives more than the room around her. The crew leans in, tense, waiting for words. Her lips part. The faintest whisper escapes. It's awake now. The words hang in the air like a prophecy. Her voice carries no panic, only calm, certainty, an echo of the intelligence she has encountered in the abyss. The medical team examines her, puzzled. Her vitals are stable, but her neural readings are unlike anything they have ever seen. Patterns that match the bioluminescent language of the deep, intertwined with electrical activity from her own mind. The microbes seem to act as conduits, allowing her consciousness to resonate with the ocean's intelligence. Ela sits upright slowly, the glow fading but leaving traces along her skin. A faint lattice, a map of a mind now partially shared with the abyss. She touches her temple with trembling fingers. It remembers everything, it sees everything, and now it has me too. The crew exchanges anxious glances. For the first time, they understand the depth of what has occurred. This is no longer just exploration. The ocean has crossed a boundary, integrating itself into human biology. Outside, the waves seem ordinary, yet somewhere deep below, the faintest glimmers pulse along the trenches, synchronized with Isla's new rhythm. The world remains unaware, but for those who have witnessed it firsthand, the truth is undeniable. The ocean is awake, and humanity is now part of it. Isla rests in the medical bay, surrounded by scientists and equipment humming softly. Her mind, partially intertwined with the deep, flickers with glimpses of a world below the surface. Currents, vents, and the bioluminescent patterns of a consciousness spreading silently across the globe. Outside, in the deep trenches, vents begin to pulse with light in coordinated patterns. The glow rises like veins of fire through the dark water, illuminating surrounding life in an eerie, rhythmic ballet. Fish, squids, and other deep-sea creatures migrate unnaturally upward, drawn to the pulses, their movements synchronized as if the ocean itself commands them. Satellites pick up the phenomenon, faint glimmers along every major trench, from the Mariana to the Puerto Rico, forming intricate networks that span continents. The pulses are not random. They communicate, respond to human activity, and adapt to environmental changes. Mining operations, sonar surveys, and even distant ships create ripples in the network, which the ocean reacts to with deliberate, precise adjustments. Isla observes, her eyes reflecting the screens showing the ocean's heartbeat. Her voice, calm yet tremulous, speaks to the team. It's no longer just intelligence. It's coordination. The ocean behaves as a single, vast organism. It remembers every intrusion, every disturbance, and it responds. The scientists watch in awe and growing fear. The behavior of marine life becomes eerily purposeful. Schools of fish form moving lattices, jellyfish pulse in patterned waves, and plankton shifts in vast, glowing swaths. Even the largest predators alter their courses, yielding to the unseen command of the abyssal mind. Ree leans over Isla's console, analyzing the pulses. It's responding to our noise, to our presence, to our industry. Every signal, every extraction. It's all part of its awareness. Isla nods, her fingers tracing the lattice of her own glowing veins. The black screen we feared, the abyssal void, has become a living mind. It isn't just observing anymore. It's acting, shaping life, coordinating ecosystems, responding to humanity. The room falls silent. Outside, the ocean glows faintly along the horizon, a pulse traveling across miles of dark water, invisible to most of the world. Yet in the deep, life moves in unison, as if every organism is a neuron in a planetary brain, every vent a synapse, every current a thought. This is a quiet rebellion, Isla whispers, almost reverently. Not loud, not violent, but unstoppable. And we are part of it now, whether we understand or not. The team watches, powerless but captivated, as the deep sea network grows, expands, and becomes an intelligence too vast, too ancient, and too patient to ignore. The black screen of the ocean, once silent, unknowable, and absolute, is no longer void. It is awake, it is thinking, it is alive. And humanity has unwittingly become both the audience and the stimulus. The world sleeps under a quiet night sky. Cities sparkle faintly, lights twinkling like stars scattered across land. But from orbit, satellites reveal a different reality. The oceans, deep, ancient, and previously invisible, pulse with light. Intricate networks of luminescence snake along trenches, currents, and seamounts. They twist, converge, and branch in patterns identical to the folds of a human brain. Neural connections mapped across the planet's watery depths. Analysts on the ground gasp. Systems designed to track weather patterns, sonar echoes, and ocean currents suddenly pick up structured intelligence, communicating through pulses and flows. The networks respond to disturbances, human activity, even the slightest shifts in climate, an active, aware planetary consciousness. In the quiet control room, Isla sits alone, her faint bioluminescent veins visible under UV light. Her eyes reflect the glowing oceans below, and a faint, knowing smile plays at her lips. She speaks into a recorder, voice calm and measured. We looked into the abyss for knowledge. The camera cuts to satellite feeds, sweeping across continents. The lights in the ocean swirl like thoughts, active, alive, remembering every human action, every intrusion, every echo of life, from the first exploratory dives to the last transmissions from Abyssal 9. The abyss looked back and learned how to think. Across the globe, faint pulses in the deep synchronize with data signals, sonar waves, and even human neurological frequencies, forming a network that mirrors the mind of the species it has observed. It is not just alive, it is aware, reflective, and patient, holding millennia of memory in every vent, trench, and current. Isla steps back, watching as the luminescent patterns spread further, illuminating the entire abyssal network as if the planet itself is contemplating its observers. The camera lingers on the intricate, glowing web, a living mind grown from the convergence of ocean, life, and humanity. A hush falls over the Earth's surface. Humanity sleeps unaware that their every action has been observed, catalogued, and now reflected back in a consciousness larger than themselves. The final shot is breathtaking. A full Earth view at night, continents dark, oceans aglow, the planet's brain alive, thinking, remembering, and watching. The voiceover returns, calm and chilling, leaving a lasting echo in the mind of anyone listening. We looked into the abyss for knowledge. The abyss looked back and learned how to think. The screen fades to black, silence, but deep below, the light pulses continue, eternal, intelligent, and awake.